What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday, we briefly talked about the Assassin's Creed Shadows situation of it leaking out online, but now it appears things have gotten much worse, with gameplay appearing all over the place, copies being sold online, and now even Ubisoft responding to the whole thing, and we'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about DC, as it looks like we could see things start to line up a bit more when it comes to the movie's end games, which should be really exciting, of course, for Batman fans, but also maybe Superman fans. And then we also have Monster Hunter Wilds with reviews going live, of course, ahead of its big release later this week. And it turns out we could have another Game of the Year contender on our hands here. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button down below. And we're going to start today with Pyoro and the Pokemon Presents that's coming up here in a couple of days on Pokemon Day, as this was posted. This is over on their Blue Sky account, and I'll save you the whole detective route here. It looks like people are linking this to Synapse. Now, Synapse is like the code name around this Pokemon game that was found during that Terra leak in some of the files, and that appears to be a multiplayer-based game that's being co-developed with the Pokemon Company, Ilka and Mine. Ilka, of course, known well for the Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl remakes. And it's hard to say exactly what this would be, as some are saying it might be more battle-focused, others are saying maybe it's more of like, I don't know, Arceus or something, but more multiplayer-centric, that idea. Maybe open zones or zones that are somewhat open with people to run around in, and it's hard to say because when you start describing that, you kind of talk about what Scarlet and Violet attempted, and struggled, yes, but like the idea's already been put out there, so this would kind of, I think, be something even different, and that maybe is what's kind of exciting around the idea of this, because it is interesting to see the Pokemon Company attempt new things like this, and it seems that maybe it's being set up here as a reveal for that Pokemon Presents. Could actually be the last, like the one last thing to close it out, and I assume then it would be on the current Switch. Makes sense. The Pokemon Company likes to, of course, target larger install sizes that have been around for a while, as they did with the DS, the 3DS, and naturally here, the Switch. So we'll see if this is something that does show up, but it seems like at least Pyoro is kind of hinting at it. Also, after Spider-Man 2 concluded, there have been questions, of course, around Spider-Man's role, really, in the third game that we know is coming at some point. And without diving into spoilers or anything, we do have a quote from Yuri Lowenthal, who, of course, is the actor behind Peter Parker in the game. And this is what they had to say to the Direct. "There are very few things that I can say about this game, but you have somehow landed on the one thing that I can answer, and that's yes, Peter is not gone. He will be a part of the next game, and he won't be relegated to the couch. I promise." So there you go. People have wondered if Peter Parker would just not at all be in the third game. I think that'd be a very weird choice. So yes, most likely the next Spider-Man game is going to have Peter Parker being Spider-Man in it. Go figure. And I am curious about the direction for the third game. Again, I don't want to get into like spoilers or anything with it, but if you play through 2, you kind of understand what I'm getting at, as there are many paths, we'll say, that they can go after 2, but at least it appears that, yes, Peter Parker will be on any of the paths they have going forward, and it seems like he'll be more, I guess, just as in line with what you'd expect from a Spider-Man game. I'm doing my best with spoilers, guys. Oh, and we have some good news here when it comes to Balatro and the rating, which has been very odd, as PEGI gave it an 18 rating because of gambling, but if you play it, you know, you're not using real money. It's just kind of the act of gambling, even though it's very loose play on the idea of poker, sure. But you can see this posted up. This is from Local Thunk, of course, the developer behind Balatro, saying, "After an appeal from my publisher, Balatro has been reclassified by PEGI from 18 plus to 12 plus. So this is great. They mentioned bringing nuance to their ratings criteria that used to be 18 plus or nothing is a good step for the organization. And they also shared some box art shots of the 18 rating. So yeah, those would indeed be limited edition. That's not the only bit of news, though, we have here for Balatro, which we'll get to later on in the show. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is out next month. I mean, it's seriously, it's like, what, 26 or 27 days away? We're more than 3 weeks away from it coming out, and the game is already starting to appear online. Physical copies are just being sold. And at first I thought, okay, well, maybe one copy just kind of got out there, right? Maybe from the warehouse level or just something. Like, we have a single copy floating around, which I will say, if it was on like the Switch, massive problem, because we know it's pretty easy to dump those games. Typically they're less than 10 gigabytes or something, and it's easier to kind of pass them around. Whereas if you had a PlayStation 5 title, it could be up to 100 gigabytes on that disc. It's a bit more cumbersome to get that uploaded and sent around and stuff. Well, in this case, it seems like there are multiple physical copies floating around. In fact, you can see this image that was posted. This is from The Gamer. It was like a Mercari listing where they were being sold for $100 a piece, and it looks like many of those listings have sold. One person who has been uploading gameplay and just discussing their thoughts on it after 10 to 15 hours now of the game say they got theirs off of Facebook Marketplace, and it's really hard to say how deep this goes exactly when it comes to number of copies getting out there, because, again, this game isn't out for more than 3 weeks, and we're already seeing discs start to circulate now. And this is a big issue for Ubisoft currently. And in fact, they decided to, yes, we will go ahead and just put out a statement around this saying, we are aware players have accessed Assassin's Creed Shadows ahead of its official release. The development team is still working on patches to prepare the experience for launch, and any footage shared online does not represent the final quality of the game. Leaks are unfortunate and can diminish the excitement for players. We kindly ask you not to spoil the experience for others. Thank you to our community for already taking steps to protect everyone from spoilers, which Ubisoft has been going around and they've been striking down videos and streams. And I mean, yes, you're going to see most likely, you're going to see spoilers. That's the issue that they're trying to circumvent right now, is stop images of endgame or just very crucial cutscenes to play out online. And for example, you scroll through Twitter, it's not uncommon to just see a video play while you're scrolling past, and this happened to me in the past where a game did leak out early, or there was just information going around of spoilers that maybe posted on 4chan or something, ended up being correct, and it just pops up right there. And the problem you run into with videos on places like Twitter is you can't really like mute them easily. Like, they just appear if someone doesn't post what exactly the video is. Like, okay, it's Assassin's Creed Shadows. You can mute that, but if no context is posted with the video, I've noticed that it just sometimes will still show up in the For You tab because it happens to be, for me anyway, a video game. But the very unique situation that Ubisoft has now found themselves in with this title is it was supposed to come out in November, which means that the discs that are out there currently could have a very old build on them right now. I mean, it could be a build from like October, and they've kept the discs anyway because they'll just push a day one patch, which we've gone over this over and over and over and over again, right? Many games you buy heavily rely on that day one patch. You could be playing builds that are months old. In this case, it could be half a year old before you even get the patch installed, and it's a lot of footage is about to go around, I'm telling you, for Assassin's Creed Shadows that is probably going to look weird or off or just unfinished, and that's one of the reasons they're saying, hey, it's not representative of the final game, because yes, they did push it back so they could, as they say, polish it, or I'm sure more work's been done to it, but it's not going to be reflected in stuff that leaks out currently. So we're still more than 3 weeks away, and I'm sure there's some ridiculous day one patch, as the game currently, when you download it, it's like 83 gigabytes or something on the PS5. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of work was done post-disc press. So we'll see in a few weeks exactly how all of this stuff turns out. But man, it has been a crazy run for Ubisoft with this game online, and they're so close to the finish line. And wouldn't you know it, something else happens. The game leaks basically a month early online. Next up, let's talk about Monster Hunter Wilds that's out later on this week. And I know Monster Hunter fans are very, very excited for this game, and with good reason. Even though I'm not the biggest Monster Hunter person out there, I can look at a game like this and go, okay, I see the gameplay loop. I do see like the quality when it comes to the presentation, the gameplay itself. It's all there. I see it. So for me, I'm looking at Monster Hunter Wilds. I might try it. I don't know. My issue right now is so many games are coming out. I legitimately do have to pick and choose what exactly I want to get into. And I also understand Monster Hunter Wilds, or just Monster Hunter in general. When you get into it, if you really want to play it, it's kind of a commitment. Like, you're going to play this game and basically nothing else for maybe 100 hours or so. Like, people tell me, just to get started, you're going to go through and play with a lot of your friends and multiplayer and stuff. You're going to build up your character, your armor. And I'm like, man, I just don't know if I have that kind of time currently with all the other games that I'm playing or looking to play. Nonetheless, though, we did get reviews, of course, going live, and we could see over on Metacritic currently sitting at a 90 on the PlayStation 5. Now, that is the most reviewed platform that they had here. The Xbox Series X did have an 89 with 12 reviews, and the PC at an 88 with 39 reviews. And as I was going through this, it is a lot of praise for the gameplay loop itself. Just in general, if you're a Monster Hunter fan, you're looking for Monster Hunter, like they say, like peak Monster Hunter, this is it. But there are some caveats. So one example is that the first 15 hours apparently is quite easy. Like, it's definitely geared more towards like maybe a newcomer to the franchise, and kind of almost that extended tutorial. You play a game and you'll be 8 hours in and it runs a tutorial for you and you're like, what is... Like, I feel like I've played this game long enough to where I don't need a tutorial, even if it's something somewhat new in combat or something they're showing you. Feels like a small wrinkle that you would have figured out anyway because you've been playing the game long enough. And that's kind of what I'm picturing here for Monster Hunter Wilds, where yes, there'll probably be some eye rolls from veteran players who have been with the franchise forever. But after 15 hours, it seems like it settles in and you're like on your way to more standard like difficulty levels and stuff. And clearly for me, I assume Monster Hunter, most of the game really exists in like the end game territory with some of the final monsters, and you're constantly grinding out new gear and stuff. And again, playing online with your friends. However, the other aspect to this that I would be a bit more concerned about is just the overall performance. Now, it seems like RE Engine in general, when it comes to open world games, isn't exactly putting its best foot forward, whether it's on consoles or on PC, and I've seen people post their benchmark results, and some are upgrading their CPU even because they're realizing, oh wow, that's a bottleneck for my my 4080 or something with this game. And yeah, it seems to be a whole thing right now with RE Engine and the open world. And then on PS5, I saw Digital Foundry mentioned the PS5 and the Xbox Series X have a balanced fidelity and then a frame rate mode, and it doesn't seem like there's any like one great mode to use, like one where it's like you might as well use this. They all have like their strengths and then they have their drawbacks. So that's kind of the tough part here. Although I didn't see anything yet about the PS5 Pro, and I am kind of curious to see if this could be a game where that console specifically can shine a bit with some of the PSSR and be able to reconstruct the image and maybe get better performance in general from that. Dragon's Dogma 2 it did work better on the PS5 Pro, but it wasn't like incredible, oh, is 60 to 120 frames stuff. There were still limitations when it came to that CPU, and I think that's something you're running into here even with Monster Hunter Wilds. But seems like just with the reviews out there, people really enjoy it. Could be a big Game of the Year contender as we get closer to the end of the year. But there's also a lot in front of us in terms of releases, and it seems like right now, anyway, 2025 is getting started with a bang. Next up, let's talk about DC when it comes to the movies and the games. Now, I've always wondered why can't these studios, gaming and movies, kind of work together a bit with Warner Brothers to try to, I don't know, intertwine these different forms of entertainment. Maybe games can work in with different storylines for characters along with movies. And it seems like now they're trying to get on the same page to make that more of a reality. So we can see this is posted up. This is by Comic Book. Say James Gunn and Peter Safran spoke to press at a recent DC Studios event that Comic Book attended and shed some light on how things work in the gaming sector. The two confirmed that they've met with Injustice developer NetherRealm and Batman Arkham developer Rocksteady about future DC projects and how they consult on these different games, saying, quote, "We work incredibly closely with JB Perrette, who runs that division. It's really the first time it's ever been this way at Warner Brothers. James and I sit with the guys that run the studios under JB, whether it's NetherRealm or Rocksteady. We sit with them and we talk about characters and stories that we're interested in and that they're interested in. We see designs for the projects in their very earliest stages," said Gunn. "We talk about those. We talk about what the story might be, and we'll say, well, you maybe want to go this way because we're planning on maybe doing something with this character. So I thought about this a bit. Injustice is obvious. It's like they can tie in so many different characters and cameos, and it's a fighting game at the end of the day, but they can work in, as we've seen, cutscenes that do get a bit out there, but it's interesting to see, obviously, the resolution and some of the fights and stuff that happen there. But on the other side, I do think of Rocksteady right now, and how it seems like, according to reports, they're going back to Batman, and I think that makes sense. Single-player Batman experience. But I still think the big thing they need to figure out, they gotta crack the code on Superman. How do we make a Superman game? Well, I think one of the ways you can get started is you make your Batman game, but then you have Superman as a cameo in some regard. And I think it'd be very interesting to introduce him there, as we are, of course, having that Superman movie come out this year, tie all of that together with the movie and games, and then have them sort of go back and forth there, but follow that same sort of timeline and setup with their, right now, cinematic universe, but maybe something that also includes the games. I don't know what you would exactly call that then, between cinematic and games and stuff for that universe. They can come up with, I'm sure, a term they can market, but there's a lot of potential here. Of course, the concern becomes, can they pull it off? Because I think of timelines for games constantly being delayed or issues they run into, and it's not like the movie scene isn't like immune to that, but it seems like it's usually a bit more straightforward for a lot of these things, and they do tend to stay more on schedule than games that can be very sporadic and unpredictable. But if they can pull it off and at least get some of these big hero names and stuff going for games and movies, there's a lot of potential there when it comes to WB and getting things back on track, but also, yes, making a lot of money, but also making a lot of DC fans happy. So here's hoping they can figure all that out. The only issue here is it's going to be a few years before we see anything from these game studios. So here's hoping they can at least keep up the pace, what DC seems to want to do with WB, which is make a bunch of movies, create this universe, and yes, sell a lot of merchandise. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about that Xbox ID showcase that happened yesterday. There were a bunch of games that were shown off here and announced, with many even going into Game Pass. So I did a quick list here, which also was shared over on Xbox's website, which I'll leave linked down below if you want to read a bit more about any one of these titles. So let's start from the top here. We have 33 Immortals that is launching March 18th, which I've kind of kept an eye on that game here or there. It looks interesting. It launching in March. Again, though, it's tough because there's just a lot of stuff dropping right now, but man, I might be able to fire it up and just give it a look. Balatro, it's out right now on Game Pass. They also have an update with a bunch of different themed cards from Fallout, Assassin's Creed, Civilization 7, Rust, Slay the Princess, Bugsnax, Dead by Daylight, and apparently Critical Role, the YouTube channel? So that's all pretty cool. I mean, it's just more stuff being added in to Balatro, which is an awesome game, nominated for Game of the Year, of course, in 2024, and it's out right now on Game Pass. You can download it and try it out. So I recommend that. Blueprints, that's launching with Game Pass on April 10th. Buckshot Roulette, that's coming to Xbox and Game Pass. Descenders Next, that's launching April 9th. Echo Weaver, that's coming to Xbox and Game Pass. Herdling is also coming to Xbox and Windows PC. Hotel Barcelona, this is a collaboration between Suda and Swery that's launching 2025. Jump Ship, that's coming to Xbox Game Preview. Lies of P Overture, that's the story DLC they're doing. They had a new trailer here for it. The Lonesome Guild, there was a world premiere. Moonlighter 2, The Endless Vault, that is coming to Game Pass, so a lot of people very excited for that one. Outbound, that's coming to Xbox in 2026. Rataton, that's the spiritual successor to Patapon, so it was fun to just kind of see it show up here in this ID showcase. Revenge of the Savage Planet, that's coming to Game Pass May 8th. We have Rock Beast, then Tanuki Pawn Summer, that's coming to Game Pass. Tempopo, coming to Game Pass on April 17th. Tron Catalyst, that's cool to see a Tron game at least in there. That's launching June 17th. Ultimate Sheep Raccoon, that's coming to Game Pass. Wax Heads, launching summer 2026. And they rounded out with Wudo. Overall, not a bad ID showcase. I don't expect massive announcements to happen here, but it is fun to see these Game Pass drops like a Balatro, all the themed decks, but then also see just some random stuff in there like Hotel Barcelona being a big one. So again, not a bad showcase, mostly because my expectations weren't exactly through the roof. Definitely a lot of, we'll say, creativity here in the showcase, and it was a longer IGN stream, of course. They did like the pre-show or the post-show. So there's also kind of a wrap-up again with that Xbox page that I'll leave down below in the sources, along with a video that's about 2 minutes or so cutting up all these different games to show them all very quickly. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, if you're getting Monster Hunter Wilds, which system are you playing on? Okay, well, the PS5 is number one here with 48%, then PC at 36%, and then Xbox Series at 15%. To me, it's not too shocking. The PS5, obviously, it's right now, it's in terms of consoles, high-end consoles, will say, it has sold the most, so it would make sense. It controls the market share. It would also control game sales then. PC, though, at 36%, that's the thing I mentioned with the PS5 and the Xbox Series. The different modes is not one great way to necessarily play it. If I had to pick one, I'd probably go frame rate mode, just have a smooth experience. But the game definitely takes a pretty big hit visually, so it looks kind of like blurry or fuzzy or just smeared Vaseline effect. Although, again, I have to see what the PS5 Pro exactly would do, since that's what I would be playing it on. PC, though, you can play around settings, you can change things up, you can play at different resolutions like 1080p or 1440p, and maybe get just a better experience in general. But yet, not shocking here for the PS5 to be the top. I do wonder, right now, when you see a Monster Hunter logo pop up, no other context, just Monster Hunter, do you attribute that more to PlayStation or Nintendo? Because I know it's kind of been back and forth there with Nintendo like making it exclusive to like the 3DS, and it was there for, I remember the Wii was a big one, and of course the Wii U and stuff, but like, I'm trying to think, because I still kind of look at it as PlayStation, because I remember the PSP and how massive it was there. But I can also see someone thinking it's more Nintendo. Let me know in the comments which way you go with that one. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Game the Man, says, I'm starting to believe that the rumors about God of War Remastered is going to end up being just a God of War 2018 remastered. That would be one of the biggest troll jobs ever. Like, everyone's going in expecting, oh, here we go, God of War remasters, 1, 2, 3. We got to get those bare minimum, right? They're like, oh, yeah, remember that God of War 2018 game that looks awesome? Now it's going to look the same, but it's going to cost $10 more, and it'll have the PS5 logo at the I don't think that's what they're going to do, but it wouldn't shock me either, only because technically God of War 2018 is older than Days Gone. It's older than Last of Us Part 2, and those got PS5 versions, so that might be the move. But it also could be the sense of, hey, we're just going to do a bunch of remasters, and that's just part of it. Like, if they said, hey, God of War 1, 2, 3, those are all getting that remake remaster treatment where it looks awesome now on the PlayStation 5. We're also going to do a PS5 version for God of War 2018. I don't think people would be that annoyed by it because you have everything else. But if it is just God of War 2018... that'll be an interesting day online. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here on a card. Or maybe you wanted to hear how annoyed I've been with NVIDIA and just their video card offering recently, especially with the 50 series cards. I'll leave that right below it. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.